The gathering storm. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, where stars twinkled like scattered diamonds against a deep velvet backdrop, the Galactic Council convened in its grand chamber. This colossal structure, built from shimmering crystalline materials, reflected the diversity of life that inhabited the cosmos. Delegates from various planets, each representing their unique species and cultures, gathered to discuss matters that could shape their futures. As the delegates took their seats, a palpable tension hung in the air. Sorak, a serpentine being from the planet Zerloth, coiled around the central podium, his emerald scales glinting under the soft glow of overhead lights. His voice echoed through the chamber, commanding attention as he addressed his fellow representatives. "They don't fight like others do," Sorak began, his tone grave. "We must consider what we know about humanity." Torask, a representative from the Andolian Dominion with livery wings folded tightly at his sides, nodded in agreement. "It's something else entirely," he added quietly, glancing around at his peers who wore expressions ranging from curiosity to concern. The Council had only recently become aware of humans, an emerging species that had burst onto the galactic stage with unexpected ferocity. Whispers had spread among the stars about their uncanny aggression and their refusal to back down when cornered. It was a reputation that sparked fear among those who valued diplomacy and reason above all else. Sorak shifted uneasily as he continued, "Tell me, Torask, what have you observed?" Torask leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he recalled a recent encounter. "They don't start wars, not usually," he explained slowly. "But when they fight, when they get angry, it's like nothing I've ever seen." A chill settled over the room as Torask's words sunk in. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They had heard rumors that had yet to grasp their full implications. Humanity's capacity for rage was not merely a trait, but an instinctual force that could erupt without warning. "You need to hear this story," Torask insisted, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper as he surveyed his audience. "It's vital for understanding what we're dealing with." The council leaned in closer, every pair of alien eyes fixated on Torask as he began recounting his harrowing experience during what was supposed to be a simple trade negotiation with humans, a meeting that spiraled into chaos. "It was meant to be straightforward," he began. "The dispute over cargo ships, nothing more than a misunderstanding over credits. We thought we could talk it out, compromise and settle like civilized beings do." Torask paused for effect, allowing the gravity of his words to resonate within the chamber. But then something changed. He recalled how one human leader stood up during their meeting, eyes ablaze with an intensity that sent shivers down Torask's spine. "I swear it," he said fervently. Those eyes, something shifted in that moment. The tension in the room grew thicker as Torask continued his tale. "My lieutenant nudged me and whispered that something was wrong. I didn't see it at first, but then one by one, all the humans stood up. Their leader's voice rang out like thunder. 'Fix it now.' When they hesitated, it was as if a dam had broken. Rage spilled over like an uncontrollable tide. We barely escaped that room alive," Torask concluded grimly. Sorak sneered at this revelation, flicking his forked tongue in disbelief. "Rage? That's what you're afraid of. Emotions are universal. Every species experiences anger." Torask shook his head vehemently, his wings twitching nervously at his sides. "You don't understand. This was different. Their anger is focused. No, instinctual. Once it starts, it doesn't stop. It amplifies until they're like predators ready to tear apart anything in their path." A murmur spread through the council chamber. Some delegates laughed nervously, while others appeared visibly unnerved by Torask's account. Most species in the galaxy relied on diplomacy and tactics for conflict resolution. Humans seemed ruled by something far more primal and unpredictable. Sorek snorted dismissively, but couldn't hide his intrigue as he pressed further. So you're saying that these primitive creatures are dangerous because they get angry? Torosk clenched his jaw tightly as memories flashed through his mind, images of chaos and destruction during that fateful meeting. They are dangerous because their anger makes them irrational, he replied sharply. I've seen them fight when outnumbered or outgunned, even when victory seemed impossible. They fight harder, and when they win, it's not from strategy or brute strength, it's sheer, unexplainable fury. The chamber fell silent as delegates absorbed this unsettling information. Aaron, a towering figure from the Ran coalition, who had remained quiet until now, finally spoke up, breaking the tension that had settled over them like a heavy fog. I've seen it too, he declared firmly. All eyes turned toward him as he continued recounting an encounter with humans near the Drift Nebula, a time when their fleet had come under attack by pirates. Initially fighting like any other species would have done, something shifted after one of their commanders fell in battle. I can't explain it, Aaron admitted slowly, shaking his head in disbelief at what he had witnessed. But after that moment, they changed. He described how humanity moved faster and fought harder than ever before. It was no longer just about survival. It became personal. The pirates never stood a chance, Aaron concluded somberly. It was over in minutes, and those humans still standing looked as though they could have torn apart an entire nebula with their bare hands. Sorek frowned deeply as he processed this information, narrowing his gaze at Aaron with renewed curiosity. So they fight harder when angry. Is that what you're saying? Aaron nodded solemnly. Yes, and it's not just their strength. It's something deeper than that. A hushed murmur swept across the room once more as delegates exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't merely about military might anymore. It was about unpredictability, an alien force they had never considered before. Sorek leaned forward eagerly now. Curiosity glinted in his eyes as he posed a critical question. So how do we stop them? How do we contain this anger? Torosk shook his head slowly, dread creeping into every word he spoke next. That's precisely the problem. The council chamber fell silent once again as every delegate present grappled with this unsettling realization. Humans, with their seemingly endless capacity for rage, were more dangerous than they had ever imagined. There's no stopping it once it starts, Sorek repeated incredulously. Disbelief etched across his face as he processed Torosk's warning further. You're suggesting they can't control their own emotions? He asked incredulously. Torosk grimaced at this notion, while folding his leathery wings tighter against himself, a gesture of both discomfort and resignation. Control isn't really an issue, he clarified softly but firmly. It's what happens when they lose it. As if on cue, an icy chill swept through the chamber, a collective understanding settling upon them all like an oppressive weight. Their anger isn't like ours, Torosk continued gravely. It's raw, it consumes them. They turn into something else entirely. The atmosphere grew colder still with each word spoken, the gravity of humanity's emotional volatility pressing heavily upon every delegate present who had evolved over millennia to suppress extreme emotional reactions for survival within this fragile galaxy built upon alliances fraught with perilous tensions. But humans, they were different, dangerous even, because their fury could erupt without warning, and once unleashed, there would be no predicting its course or stopping its destructive path. Sorek clicked his teeth together sharply before turning back towards Torosk once more, his skepticism giving way now to genuine concern as he asked pointedly, "You fear them too much." "They bleed," Sorek asserted defiantly, despite feeling uncertain deep within himself still. "They can be defeated." Torosk nodded slowly but firmly nonetheless, his talons scraping against Podium's edge nervously while speaking again. Yes, they bleed, but when they get angry, it's as if pain fuels them. They fight harder. Aran shifted uncomfortably at this point, while leaning forward slightly, all eyes now focused intently upon him once more, as if waiting for him to provide some insight into this perplexing dilemma facing them all collectively now. Listen, Aran urged quietly yet firmly. This isn't merely about bleeding. When humans become enraged, they can become one moment, and then, with no warning whatsoever, they explode into fury. The room darkened suddenly then, as if shadows themselves conspired against them, as towering figure entered unexpectedly through doorway behind him, the lights glinting off battle-hardened frame belonging unmistakably to General Derman, a fierce warrior hailing from Mari Coalition. His voice boomed across chamber, instantly commanding everyone's attention without question whatsoever. You're all weak. Afraid of some primitive species merely because they show teeth when provoked. Doan challenged boldly, his piercing gaze sweeping across assembly before resting finally upon Sorok himself. That's nothing new. The question remains. Doan continued undeterred by murmurs rising within crowds surrounding him, now growing louder still. Why are you so quick to cower before them? The unraveling. The atmosphere in the Galactic Council chamber was thick with tension as delegates processed the implications of Torask's harrowing account. The fear of humanity's unpredictable fury hung over them like a storm cloud, threatening to unleash chaos at any moment. Sorok, the serpentine delegate, shifted uneasily in his seat, his emerald scales shimmering under the dim lights. A flashback to chaos. Torask's words echoed in his mind. They fight harder when angry. The council had gathered to discuss trade agreements and interstellar alliances, but now they found themselves grappling with a far more pressing concern: the potential for conflict with a species that had shown an uncanny ability to turn negotiation tables into battlegrounds. As the murmur subsided, Sorok raised his voice. We must prepare ourselves. If they are capable of such rage, we cannot afford to underestimate them. His tone was resolute, but uncertainty flickered in his eyes. The chamber fell silent once more as Aran, the towering delegate from the Ran Coalition, leaned forward. We need to understand what drives them, he urged. If we can grasp their motivations, perhaps we can find a way to coexist without conflict. Torask nodded in agreement. It's not just about their strength, it's about their instincts. They are unpredictable, yes, but there is a logic to their fury that we must decipher. The council's debate. A heated debate ensued among the delegates. Some argued for immediate action, preemptive strikes against human colonies to ensure safety. Others advocated for diplomacy, suggesting that understanding human emotions could lead to a more peaceful coexistence. Diplomacy has failed us before, Sorok interjected passionately. We cannot trust a species that reacts so violently when cornered. But what if we approach them differently? Aran countered. What if we acknowledge their emotions and show them that we are not their enemies? Perhaps they will respond positively. The council members exchanged glances, weighing the merits of each argument. Tensions flared as voices rose and fell like waves crashing against rocky shores. It was clear that opinions were divided. Some wanted to strike first, others sought dialogue. A proposal emerges. As discussions grew more heated, a soft voice cut through the chaos. Kira, the delegate from the peaceful planet of Ilara. Her delicate features belied a fierce intellect as she spoke up. What if we send an envoy? A small team of our best diplomats to engage with them directly. We could learn from them and perhaps even establish a foundation for future cooperation. The room quieted as her proposal sank in. It was an idea that held promise, an opportunity to bridge the gap between two vastly different civilizations. I volunteer, Torask said suddenly, surprising everyone. I have seen their fury firsthand. I believe I can help navigate this delicate situation. Sorek frowned but recognized the bravery in Torosk's offer. Very well, he said reluctantly. But you will not go alone. We must ensure your safety. Aaron stood tall and declared, I will join him. If we are to understand humanity, we must be willing to face them together. Kira smiled at their resolve, but knew that this mission would be fraught with challenges. We need a third member, a strategist who can assess risks and provide insights during negotiations. Assembling the team. After much discussion, they settled on Jarek, a seasoned strategist from the Zolothian Alliance, known for his keen analytical mind and ability to read situations with remarkable precision. With their team assembled, they began preparations for their mission. Each delegate brought unique skills and perspectives that would be invaluable in understanding humanity's complex emotional landscape. As they strategized, Torosk felt a mixture of excitement and dread bubbling within him. He knew that confronting humans would be unlike anything he had faced before. It was not merely about negotiation tactics, but understanding raw emotion in its most primal form. The journey begins, pays later. The envoy set off aboard a sleek starship designed for speed and stealth, the Celestial Whisper. As they traveled through the cosmos toward Earth, Torosk reflected on what lay ahead. What if they don't want to talk? He pondered aloud during one of their strategy sessions. Jarek replied thoughtfully, Then we must be prepared for anything, both negotiation and conflict alike. Kira added softly, But remember, our goal is understanding first and foremost. If we approach them with respect and openness, perhaps they will respond in kind. As Earth came into view, a blue-green jewel surrounded by swirling clouds, Torosk felt a knot tighten in his stomach. This was it. They were about to encounter humanity face to face. First impressions. Upon landing at a designated meeting site, a sprawling facility surrounded by lush greenery, Torosk took a deep breath as he stepped onto solid ground. The humans awaited them at the entrance. Representatives dressed in formal attire stood with expressions ranging from curiosity to apprehension. Stay calm, Jarek whispered as they approached the group. The human leader stepped forward, a tall figure named Commander Ilara, with striking features and an air of authority that commanded respect. Welcome, she said firmly yet warmly. We've been expecting you. Torosk noticed a gaze flickering between each delegate. She was assessing them just as they were assessing her. Let's begin our discussions, Ilara continued, gesturing toward an open area where they could converse freely. As they walked together toward the meeting space, Torosk felt a mix of hope and trepidation wash over him. This was their chance, a moment where understanding could either flourish or falter spectacularly. The meeting begins. Once seated around a large table adorned with symbols representing both civilizations, Torosk took a deep breath before speaking up first. We come in peace, he began cautiously. We wish to understand you better, to learn about your culture and emotions. Ilara nodded slowly but remained guarded. And why should we trust you? Torosk hesitated but pressed on. Because we have seen your potential for both greatness and destruction, and we want to work together rather than against each other. A murmur rippled through the human delegation as they exchanged glances. Some appeared intrigued, while others remained skeptical. Ilara leaned forward slightly, her interest piqued by Torosk's earnestness. Very well then, she replied thoughtfully. Let's see if your actions match your words. Building bridges. As discussions unfolded over hours, filled with questions and answers about each other's worlds, customs shared stories. The initial tension began to dissipate slowly like morning mist under rising sunlight. Torosk found himself captivated by humanity's resilience, their ability to adapt despite adversity, and how deeply rooted emotions influenced every aspect of their lives. Yet amidst this growing connection lingered an undercurrent of uncertainty. He could sense it among both delegates, the fear that anger might erupt unexpectedly at any moment, like a dormant volcano awakening from slumber. As night fell outside, the stars twinkling brightly above, the delegates shared laughter over shared experiences while forging tentative bonds amidst lingering doubts about what lay ahead. Thus began an intricate dance between two vastly different civilizations, striving toward understanding amidst uncertainty. A journey fraught with challenges, yet filled with hope for future cooperation. A deeper understanding. As the sun dipped below the horizon of Earth, casting a golden hue over the meeting space, the atmosphere shifted. The initial tension began to dissolve, replaced by a cautious curiosity. The delegates from the Galactic Council and their human counterparts were on the precipice of something profound, a chance to understand each other beyond mere words. The nature of humanity, Torosk, still grappling with his memories of chaos, took a moment to observe the humans around him. They were not just warriors, they were thinkers, creators, and dreamers. Each human delegate brought a unique perspective shaped by their experiences. Some had seen war, while others had dedicated their lives to peace. This complexity intrigued Torosk. "Tell us about your world," he urged, his voice steady but filled with genuine interest. "What drives you? What are your fears and hopes?" Commander Elara exchanged glances with her team before responding. "Humanity is driven by a desire for connection and understanding. We've faced many challenges, wars, famine, and natural disasters, but we always find a way to rise again." Torosk nodded thoughtfully. "And yet you fight so fiercely when provoked." Elara's expression hardened slightly. "We do not seek conflict, it often finds us. But when our loved ones are threatened, or when injustice occurs, we will stand and fight. It is in our nature to protect what we hold dear." Shared experiences. The conversation deepened. Other human delegates began to share their stories, tales of resilience in the face of adversity. A young woman named Maya spoke passionately about her work in humanitarian efforts, helping those displaced by war. "We believe in the power of unity," she said earnestly. "When we come together, we can achieve incredible things, like rebuilding communities and healing wounds that run deep." Torosk felt a stirring within him as he listened to her words. They resonated with his own experiences of cooperation and alliance building among various species in the galaxy. Aaron chimed in. "We too have faced challenges that tested our resolve. But we learned that understanding one another is key to overcoming differences." The dialogue continued to flow, weaving a tapestry of shared experiences and emotions that transcended species barriers. As they spoke, Torosk began to see humanity not just as a threat, but as potential allies in a universe fraught with uncertainty. The power of emotion. But amidst this newfound understanding lingered the question that haunted them all. How could they navigate the unpredictable nature of human anger? Jarek leaned back thoughtfully, considering this dilemma. "Perhaps we need to explore how emotions shape human behavior more deeply," he suggested. "If we can understand their emotional landscape, we might find ways to prevent misunderstandings that lead to conflict." Elara nodded in agreement. "Emotions are powerful forces for us, both good and bad. They can drive us to create art or inspire acts of kindness, but they can also lead us down darker paths if not managed properly." Torosk's mind raced as he contemplated this idea. What if we created a framework for communication, a way to express our feelings without fear of escalation? Maya's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "That could work. We could establish protocols for discussions, ways to signal when tensions are rising so that we can take a step back before things spiral out of control." The delegates exchanged excited glances as possibilities unfolded before them like petals blooming in springtime. Building bridges through understanding. As night enveloped the earth outside, The meeting transformed into a brainstorming session filled with energy and hope. They discussed creating an interspecies council focused on emotional intelligence, a platform where representatives from different worlds could share insights about their cultures and emotional responses. Torosk felt invigorated by this idea. It was more than just diplomacy. It was about building bridges through understanding and empathy. What if we also included educational programs? Aran proposed eagerly. We could teach both humans and aliens about each other's histories and values. Ilara smiled at this suggestion, and perhaps share stories through art or music. These forms of expression transcend language barriers. The room buzzed with excitement as they envisioned collaborative projects that would foster deeper connections between their species. The importance of empathy. Yet amidst their enthusiasm lay an underlying concern. The potential for miscommunication remained ever present. Torosk recalled Sorak's warnings about human fury. It was clear that they needed safeguards in place. We must also create safe spaces for dialogue, he emphasized seriously. Times when we can express our frustrations without fear of retaliation or misunderstanding. Jarek nodded thoughtfully. A designated time for open discussions could help alleviate tensions, allowing us to vent frustrations before they escalate into anger. Ilara agreed wholeheartedly. It's essential that both sides feel heard and respected. Only then can we build trust. As they continued brainstorming ideas late into the night, Torosk felt an overwhelming sense of hope wash over him, a feeling that perhaps they were on the brink of something extraordinary. Preparing for challenges ahead, however, reality loomed large in Torosk's mind. While they were forging connections now, there would undoubtedly be challenges ahead, moments when emotions would flare unexpectedly. Let's not forget, he cautioned gently, that even with all these plans in place, humans are still capable of unpredictable rage. Ilara met his gaze firmly but kindly. We understand that better than you realize, she replied softly. But we're willing to try, to learn from our mistakes and grow together. The sincerity in her voice resonated deeply within Torosk. It was clear that both sides were committed to this journey toward understanding. As dawn broke over Earth, a soft glow illuminating the room, the delegates felt renewed determination coursing through them like electricity. A new dawn, they had embarked on a path toward cooperation. A journey filled with potential for growth and discovery beyond anything they had imagined possible just days earlier. With newfound purpose guiding them forward, the delegates prepared themselves for the challenges ahead, each determined to navigate this uncharted territory together. As they stood together at the brink of possibility, a diverse assembly united by shared hopes, the future shimmered brightly before them like stars scattered across an endless sky. In this moment of unity amid uncertainty, their resolve solidified. They would face whatever came next side by side, ready to embrace both triumphs and trials alike as they ventured forth into an unknown world where understanding reigned supreme. The call to action, the weight of responsibility. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the meeting room, the delegates from both the Galactic Council and Earth felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had spent the previous night forging connections and sharing stories, but now they faced the daunting task of translating their understanding into action. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as they prepared to discuss a plan that could change the course of their interactions forever. Torosk stood at the forefront, his leathery wings slightly unfurled as he addressed the assembly. We have come together to explore a path forward, one that acknowledges our differences while embracing our shared potential. But we must act decisively if we are to prevent misunderstandings that could lead to conflict. Commander Ilara nodded in agreement, her expression serious yet hopeful. I believe we need a structured approach, something that allows us to communicate openly while also respecting each other's boundaries. We cannot afford to let emotions dictate our actions. Proposing a peace mission. Inspired by their discussions, Jarek proposed a bold idea. What if we send a peace mission to key human territories? We could gather intelligence about their cultures and establish rapport with influential leaders. This way, we can create a network of understanding that transcends fear. The room buzzed with excitement at this suggestion. Maya chimed in. We could focus on areas where tensions have been high, places where misunderstandings have led to conflict. By engaging directly with those communities, we can foster goodwill and demonstrate our commitment to peace. Aran leaned forward, his brow furrowed in thought. But we must also prepare for the possibility that not everyone will welcome us. There may be factions among humans who view us as threats. Ilara's eyes sparkled with determination. Then we must be ready to listen and adapt. Our mission should prioritize empathy and understanding above all else. Preparing for the mission. With their plan taking shape, the delegates began outlining the logistics of the peace mission. They discussed potential locations, key figures to engage with, and strategies for presenting themselves as allies rather than adversaries. Tarask felt a surge of hope as he listened to his fellow delegates brainstorm ideas. This was more than just a mission. It was an opportunity to redefine how their species interacted, a chance to turn fear into understanding. As they worked late into the night, Tarask couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. If they succeeded in building bridges between their worlds, it could pave the way for a future where cooperation triumphed over conflict. The departure days later, after meticulous planning and preparation, the peace mission was ready to launch. The Celestial Whisper stood poised on the launch pad, its sleek design glinting under the stars. Tarask, Ilara, Jarek, and Maya gathered one last time before departure. "This is our moment," Ilara said firmly, her voice filled with conviction. "Let's show them what unity looks like." As they boarded the ship, Tarask felt a mix of excitement and apprehension wash over him. Would humanity embrace this opportunity for dialogue, or would they react with suspicion and hostility? Arrival on Earth. The journey through space was smooth. Anticipation filled the air as they approached Earth's atmosphere. As they descended toward their destination, a bustling city filled with towering structures and vibrant life, Tarask marveled at the beauty of this world. Upon landing, they were greeted by a diverse group of human representatives eager to meet them. Commander Ilara stepped forward confidently, extending her hand in greeting. "Thank you for welcoming us," she said warmly. "We're here to learn from you and share our own experiences." Initial interactions. The initial meetings were filled with cautious optimism as both sides exchanged pleasantries and introductions. Tarask observed how humans communicated. Their body language was expressive, and their voices carried an emotional weight that resonated deeply. Maya took charge of organizing discussions focused on community engagement. She proposed visiting local neighborhoods where tensions had previously flared between humans and aliens. "We need to show them that we're not here to impose our will," she explained passionately. "We want to understand their concerns and work together toward solutions." As they ventured into these neighborhoods, Tarask felt a sense of purpose driving him forward. Each interaction was an opportunity, a chance to break down barriers and build trust. Facing challenges. However, not all encounters were smooth sailing. In one neighborhood, they faced hostility from residents who viewed them as intruders rather than allies. "Get out," shouted one man as he approached them aggressively. "We don't want your kind here." Tarask's heart raced as he sensed the tension rising around them. He exchanged worried glances with his fellow delegates. This was precisely what they had feared. Ilara stepped forward calmly but firmly. "We understand your concerns," she said gently. "We're here to listen, to learn about your experiences and find common ground." Turning point. At first it seemed futile. Anger filled the air like smoke from a fire threatening to engulf everything in its path. But then Maya spoke up, her voice steady yet filled with compassion. "I know what it feels like to be afraid," she said softly, her eyes locking onto those of the angry man before her. "I've seen my community torn apart by misunderstandings too." Her words hung in the air like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Slowly but surely, tension began to ebb away as others joined in, sharing their own stories of fear and resilience. As conversations unfolded amidst shared experiences, their collective humanity began shining through. Barriers crumbled one by one until only understanding remained standing tall against adversity. Building trust. By evening's end, something remarkable had occurred. They had turned fear into dialogue, a bridge built upon empathy rather than animosity. The man who had initially shouted at them now stood side by side with Maya. His expression softened as he listened intently, while she spoke about hope for future cooperation between humans and aliens alike. Torask felt an overwhelming sense of pride swell within him. This was what they had set out to achieve, a moment where connection triumphed over division. A new beginning. As night fell over Earth, the stars twinkling brightly above, the delegates reflected on their day's accomplishments filled with renewed hope for tomorrow. They had faced challenges head-on, but emerged stronger together, readying themselves for whatever lay ahead. With hearts united by shared purpose, their journey toward understanding continued onward, each step taken fueled by determination, the promise of collaboration lighting up paths previously shrouded in darkness. In this moment, a new beginning dawned upon both species, one where cooperation reigned supreme over conflict. And thus began an extraordinary chapter in intergalactic relations, one marked by resilience, the power of empathy, and above all else, the unwavering belief that together they could forge a brighter future.